Okay, so we're in place. I am Moe Benda. Scott, thank you for that presentation. I feel smarter as a result, and I hope after mine you don't feel dumber, but it's kind of that yin and yang that we're talking about. And what we left with Scott's presentation, I think, is a good motivation for the technical side of life and what we can bring to it. What I want to bring is a story of my life, and I want to have you read into what I went through so that you can see some of the mistakes that I made, and hopefully you find a little bit of interest and kind of joy in the things that I've done. Don't laugh at me too much. Some of the things that I am going to talk about, if I ever get nominated to the Supreme Court, will come back and haunt me. And so I would appreciate it if you kept them to yourself. But I'm going to talk about a year that I spent away from engineering. And it all started when I was little. I'm the dude on the right, and this is my best friend. It's kind of cool. I met him when I was 3. I have only one memory without him, and that was 3 seconds before I met him. But what was cool about him, and he's still, 47 years later, he's still my best friend. He's got the no BS. You know, Mo, I know what you're saying. Now, this is what you really mean. But that's Al. What's interesting about this started a passion for me that I didn't even realize I had. We grew up in the same area with our parents. We would hang around them often. And we would be sitting there playing, and then the story would all of a sudden start getting good, and then our moms would start speaking Finnish. And we were like, oh, crap. So they're saying something that we want to know about. And we thought, okay, we got to come up with a code of our own. We got to come up with a way to speak. But what it created in me was a desire to learn a different language. I don't know why, but I just wanted to. So in middle school, I said, you know, I'm gonna study. I studied German, I studied French, I studied Spanish, and I didn't like all the places that were hot and they spoke Spanish. So I said, I don't want to learn that, and I don't know of anybody that speaks French, so I don't want to learn that. German just felt good. I don't know why. I just wanted to learn German, and I said, you know, I don't want to just learn it. In high school, I want to actually go to Germany. I want to spend some time there. And we didn't have a lot of money. I'm the youngest of 9 kids. What's interesting about being the youngest of 9 kids is you really don't have a choice in anything. You kind of go along with the school of fish or anything. This was the first time in my life that I ever kind of peered above the rest and said, I want to do something just for me. I want to go to Europe. I want to go to Germany. I want to learn a language. And I just want to. It wasn't working. I was in high school, and it just wasn't working. I took 4 years of high school German. I just couldn't go. We didn't have enough money. There wasn't an opportunity. There was a lot of reasons why. So I went over to the University of Michigan, and I took 2 more years of German. And I was like, well, I just like German. This is kind of cool. So now picture me now. I'm pretty fluent in German, right? I've had 2 years of college German, 4 years of high school German. I'm thinking I know German. I can do pretty good. And I decided I'm going to try this junior year abroad program. I'm going to spend a year in Germany. I don't know why. It just feels right. It feels like something I want to do. I've always wanted to do it. Don't really know why. And I also have the belief that I didn't really need to know why. I just wanted to give it a shot. My high school teacher, who I respected very much, she said, okay, Mo, this is a great opportunity for you to go. But if you go, at the end of your time, make sure you come back. I was like, whatever, you know. Advice from old people, whatever. You know, I don't know. I'm just going to go. But I had money. I had scholarship money. I didn't have much more, but I did have some of that. So I was finally able to say, okay, I'm going. And it got a little scary then, because then I got on a plane and I flew over to Europe. I landed in some place I didn't know. When I went to college, I was 45 miles away from my house at Ann Arbor. I was free of my parents. I was free of everything. I was free of all kinds of what kind of rule is that? Where they just... Anyway, I was free of a lot of ruling authority. But now I landed in Germany, and it was kind of like, have you ever played those games where you just land in an island and it's all dark around you and you got to walk and you go, oh, there's a snake. I'm dead. Or, oh, hey, there's that kind of thing. That's what it felt like. So I spent the days being curious, as Scott had said. I said, I want to find out about where the next town is. I want to find out and it kind of like every day it was getting wider and wider for me. But I was challenged in a number of things. I was challenged in a couple of prejudices that I had. I don't know if it's prejudice, precognition. I thought I spoke German. I couldn't speak to anybody. It was bad. I couldn't talk on the phone. It was a struggle to order a hamburger and a beer from McDonald's. I didn't drink at the time, but if you needed one to order a beer at McDonald's, you could have, but I couldn't. I couldn't even talk to anybody. And I was like, what have I been doing for 6 years? And I can't, this is just killing me. I like this. This is the picture of the streetcar in the middle of town. This is in Freiburg. I'm in the Black Forest of Germany. If you can picture Germany in the southwest corner, there is, you got France over here, Switzerland right here, and then I'm right in this Black Forest, kind of the footland of the Alps. So those challenges I came with, I thought I could speak German. I also thought I understood the culture of Germany, because we didn't just learn the language, we learned about how they thought and how they acted and the things that they did. One of them was, and this is a piece of art, by the way. In America, do you know what we have around these pieces of art? We have fences and guardrails, and do you know why? Germans won't climb this kind of stuff. But Americans are like, dude, this is a big ladder in the middle of nowhere. Let's climb this thing. And what was really cool is up on top there, this is about, 50, 60 feet tall. You could look out over the valley. It was super cool. And I just found out yesterday that this dude is deathly afraid of heights. I sent him this picture because I was looking at this. I mentioned that I didn't have a lot of money going over there. I got the scholarships to go. I didn't mention the timing. The timing of the scholarships, I got there. I had just enough money to pay for my flight over. I had a little bit more money left. The days started turning into weeks and the weeks into a month. The scholarship hadn't hit yet. You ever been in that situation? You have more month than money, and you're going, oh no. I was running real thin. I was eating crackers and having gruel and soup, and it was getting pretty tight. Well, I grew up in a large family, and my family said, if you don't have any money, you go work and you get some money. It happened to be harvest time, and I went and I started working at a winery. Kind of mentioned I don't drink. So they were, of course, making fun of me that, well, you don't drink, you drink at a winery. I got paid 2 marks an hour. What's a mark? I don't know. It was $1 an hour. I feel like Napoleon Dynamite. It's $1 an hour. Gosh. Anyway, why did I tell you this story? It's really important, though. Out of money, broke. Oh, so I'm at the university, and in Germany, only the intellectuals can go to the university. It isn't if you have money. Here in the U.S., sometimes it's because you have money or because you have opportunity, or there's a lot of other reasons. In Europe, it's you have to be smart. And what was fun about these smart people is they were the most polite as you could imagine. They'd be like, oh, Mo, your German is so fantastic. I just didn't know any Americans could talk so wonderfully. Well, then I go work at this winery, and guess who works here? The common people, the normal people. And they couldn't stop laughing at how crappy my German was. They'd be like, hey, Mo, say this. And they'd be like, oh, that's fun. You suck. It's awesome. So, and it became obvious that I had a long way to go, but they taught me quite a bit. They would tease me with the wine. They would be like, Mo, it's calling you. I don't know why I didn't drink at the time, but there was good reasons. So I'm going through these financial crises. I'm able to put myself back on the food table. I'm able to kind of be there. And I'm going through another perspective crisis too. This is the first time I've ever been outside of America. The first time I've ever seen America from the outside. What's crazy about that is this is 1986, very similar to the year that we were talking about earlier. Ronald Reagan was president. Okay, big deal. Mikhail Gorbachev was the whatever they call him in Russia. The Cold War was on in full swing. This was the front of the Cold War. This is where West Germany met East Germany. This was a bad deal. I had been learning about all this for so long. I had hated the Nazis. They were terrible people. And then now they're like controlling and saying, Mo, you can't go here. And people are dying trying to get out of here. And I'm coming from America, but like, what the crap is going on? I don't understand. And I'm seeing America from a different viewpoint. And kind of like Scott had said, is that I thought that we had all kinds of thought here. But really, we were just a narrow window of thought, and there was all this left-wing thought and all this far-right wing. And, things start bending around so far that everything's together. So I was going through this really kind of yucky place. I went to Germany thinking I was going to, I don't know what I went for. Right? I just said, I want to go. I was like, hey, just send me in, coach. I'll go. I just did. And now all of a sudden I'm going through this journey of self-discovery. I'm learning a language. I'm learning a culture. And I'm really mostly learning about who I was. At about the 5-month mark, I hit a low. It was absolutely the worst time of my life. And it's Christmas time. You might not speak German, but these are apple juice containers. And they're called Good and Cheap. So I think they're like 20 cents a piece. Hey, but I figured, well, I'll just build my Christmas tree out of that. Not a big deal. But talk about life and loneliness. And this is a family time. Big family. You always spend family or Christmas time together or holidays together. And so I call home and I say, in a good mood because I get very few calls home. Hey, how's it going? Oh, not too good. Uncle George died. Everybody's in Iowa. Oh, crap. Okay, Merry Christmas, Dad. I got to go. Click. And now the line goes quiet, and I'm sitting in front of my tree going, well, this is really crappy. I can't speak the frickin' language. I don't know anybody. I don't have any money. This is getting to be pretty rough. So why do I build this whole story up? Ooh, this one more story, because since you brought in the sun, I'm going to bring in a constellation from 440 light years away. Does anyone know what that is? Pleiades. Awesome. The 7 sisters. They are my stars. They're mine. You cannot have them. They are so tiny in the sky. I like to be different. I like to be unique. And these are, really tiny. It happens to be the logo of Subaru. So I'm a little pissed that they took that from me. But this is a picture of downtown Freiburg at about 4 in the morning, and one of those little kind of moments where I'm just kind of going through. And I call my friend Al. Remember him? And I said, hey, Al. And he's looking at the same stars. 888 light years away from me is him. It's going to take a while for our eyes to actually, him, anyway. But you get the idea is I felt all of a sudden the world was a lot smaller. And for some reason, things started just at that moment kind of clicking together and coming together for me. And I was able to, at that time too, I didn't know whether I thought in English or I thought in German. It was really weird. I was dreaming in German. But I didn't know. I was like, I don't know. You're trying to think about your thought. And you're like, what? Quick, catch that. What was that? Was that English or German? So there was that identity that I was falling over. And it was at 6 months that I became fluent. So the victories. This was cool. I was a chemical engineer. So I'd been at Michigan for 2 years as, chemical engineering is easy. Anybody can do it, right? So I was, one of the deciders that I had to make was, can I take a year off of something so easy like this and come back and know what the heck is going on? And I was like, oh, that's kind of scary. That's nervous. But I decided I guilted myself into taking a physical chemistry class. And this is 1986, so I had to sneak a picture of this with a huge DSLR underneath it. Click, got picked. This is my German professor. And dumbing me, I guilted myself into this class, but it's 8 in the morning too, so it was 5 days a week. I was like, why did you do this? You got to get. But I learned things like logarithmus naturalis. Isn't that a beautiful word? I learned elements like Sauerstoff and Wasserstoff. And my favorite for dynamite, well, no, not dynamite, nitrogen, is Stickstoff. That's super cool. I like it. Made me happy. But instead of taking the classes, remember how I said I kind of peered above that little and had an opinion for once? Now I had nobody telling me. I didn't have the department. I didn't have nobody saying, this is the class that you need to take. I read the entire course catalog. Have you ever done that for UMD? No way. Because you got a chance to take 2 classes. Hey, what'd you take? I took art history. Oh, is it good? No, but it's an easy A. Okay, I'll take that. Yeah. So I read the whole thing, and I took things like European history. I took the Christian mission in the Roman Empire. I was living in a spot of history. And I'm writing these castles, and I'm learning about the kings and the queens and the peasants and all these battles. And I decided right then and there that I'm going to quit engineering and I'm going to be a history major. I was so motivated. Have you ever been motivated by a professor so much that you were like, jumping ship, man. This was awesome. And I didn't speak perfect German, but he came out from when I told him, this is what I want to do. I found my life calling. It's because of you today. And he laughs. There's no future in history. But he said it in German, so I was like, I don't know what do you mean? I mean, this is my career. Oh, that's different. Anyway, but I thought that was, that's what this is. Keine Zukunft in Geschichte. There's no future in history. It's pretty cool. But I was taking all of those classes. And in doing so, I was pursuing the interests that I never knew I had. In doing so, I got to meet that one class I was talking about, the Christian mission in the Roman Empire. It was taught by a monk. I don't know, he showed up in a robe. I just thought that's what he liked to wear. And I didn't know anything about it, but I'm sitting in class, and I was like, another monk was sitting next to me, and I'm like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? He goes, we got college students coming. They're going to live at the monastery, see if they want to be monks. And I was like, I'm a college kid. Can I come? So I did. I went and stayed lived at a monastery for it wasn't for me. But on Saturday, I will tell you, that'll be a different story. But what was also cool about my time there is they were in a quarter system, and right in the middle of the whole year, they have about a month and a half off. My parents bought me a ticket, Eurail pass, that allowed me to travel anywhere in Europe that I wanted to go on the train. It's kind of cool. Where would you go? What would you see? I didn't have any money except for this ticket. So what I did is I slept on the train at night, and I toured the towns in the day, and then got on a train and slept again. So I went cruising all over. The night before I left on this train, a gal came up to me and says, Mo, I don't know you very well, but I know you're traveling to Southern Europe. Can I come with you? So we went 14 days on a trip together, someone I never even knew. And we traveled down here to Florence, to Rome. There's this little skanky place in southern Italy called Brindisi. If you ever get a chance to go there, don't. And there is a blurb in the tour book that I had that says, the best view of Brindisi is off the back of your departing ship. I was like, okay, but we wanted to go to Turkey, right? You know, Turkey is just right over here. So we were like, okay, let's do that. So we got there. The boat left 20 minutes before. And southern Italy, they are not as advanced as we are here in terms of respecting women, as an example. So the gal that I was with, I felt miserable for. These men were pigs. We're not electrical pigs, but they were. It was just gross, and it was like, we got to get the frick out of here. So even though this line is the same, we were like running that way. Right about here, I came in contact with the Italian mafia. I was in, not too many details, but so that was cool. Anyway, so this is where I'm living, right there in southwestern Germany. But we got here into Barcelona. There is the museum of Pablo Picasso. That's pretty cool. We went to North Africa. She didn't have very much money either. And these are all countries that have different monetary systems. So we counted value in the monetary system by tomatoes. We'd say, okay, how much is that museum? It's 7 tomatoes. Well, that's not worth it. Let's go into the one that's 2 tomatoes. So we were traveling Europe based on the tomato. But when we got into North Africa, the hygiene wasn't as good in North Africa, but the chickens were cheap. So they'd have these baked chickens just kind of hanging out there, and we were like, dude, let's eat chickens. So we ate chickens for a while. And then we went to carpet factories and just a total different culture in Morocco. What was cool later on, a couple years later, I was able to, I had roommates that were from Morocco, so it was actually kind of cool that I had been there. But and then on our way back, we found out that this train wasn't free. Even though we had the pass, we had to come up with money. And we were like, we don't have any money. What are we going to do? I don't know. So we actually had to come back here. The train from here to Paris was. We had to kind of circle back around. So why do I tell you this? I have no idea. Do you have any idea? No, not yet? Okay, well, we'll get to a point. I'm sure we will. Oh, we didn't have much money, but we were looking at was the architecture at the outsides of the buildings. I mean, this is just awesome. This is not really on the outside. That is in the Musée du Louvre in Paris. But then there's this dude right here, Shannon Gordon. So Shannon is, in your life, you're going to make a total of this many friends. Did you know this? Is this news? Did you know that? That's it. When you die, this is what you're going to count on. Just so you know. He's one of them. So I met him when I was there, and he said, hey, Mo, let's go over to Ireland. Okay, let's go to Ireland. Always wanted to do that. So we go over there. We don't have too much money, but we go through Paris, of course, and we're sleeping in train stations. But this is kind of what we did. Is we sat at the train station in the morning, and we were like, what can we see in this town? You know, train doesn't leave for 4 hours. Let's check it out. So we would do it. And then we took the boat from one of the bays here. This is like Normandy beaches here. We took it, and the waves got so bad that we had to kind of swirl around here a little bit. And he says, I have money. Well, actually, it's my dad's credit card, but we can go to dinner. And so he bought dinner for us, and then about here we gave it back. Anyway, but we went to Ireland, and there's this little thing called the Blarney Stone. Has anyone ever heard of the Blarney Stone? What happens when you kiss the Blarney Stone?
Good luck for life. Good
luck for life, and you can talk about anything to anybody. They would not let me touch it. So in case you think that came from there, no, this. They said, Bo, we're holding you back. But one day he says, you know what? We've been gone for a long time. The nearest Pizza Hut is in Luxembourg. So we went 200 kilometers, so 120 miles to grab 10 pizzas so that we could come back to Freiburg to have an American pizza party. That was kind of cool. We ate 5 of them on the way back, so it was like, but in Luxembourg they had a Pizza Hut. This is in northern France. This is the Le Mont de Saint-Michel, and I think that actually translates into Michael, but my wife's name is Michelle, so I just say it's Michelle. But what was neat about this is another monastery. And during low tide, you could walk to it, but during high tide, it was an island, which was kind of cool. I only had crepes there. I just went there to have some crepes. That was it. Just needed that. And then I go, wow, this is a trip I made up here to northern Sweden and Finland, up by the Arctic Circle. Went up there. That's kind of how I traveled all over Europe. I met this dude. Smiley guy. I couldn't communicate with him. I knew a few words of Finnish. I knew no Swedish. I spoke German, and I can speak English. He couldn't speak any of that, so he just smiled. You know how when you don't understand someone, you just smile. Chinese people, they smile and they go, yes, yes. It doesn't mean I understand you. It means I hear you, right? His mode was just, I'm just here. He's 70 years old. And I came to the realization that it was pretty rude of me. I spent 3 weeks living here. I just showed up at these, it's a longer story, but I said, it's rude of me to go to a country and not speak their language. Expect them to speak my language. And that's really the American tourist way. We go to Canada and we expect them to speak English, right? Anyway, we go and so I said, you know what? I should learn Swedish. So I went back down to Germany and I took a Swedish class. So now think about learning a different language from a different language. I told you that I'm fluent in German now, but I'm not really fluent in Swedish. I can speak a little Swedish. But if I do talk Swedish and I can't come up with a word, the next word that comes into my head is German. And then after that, I'm like, I don't know the word. So it's weird. It's like my brain is separated from doing that. So then I went back up there, and if I don't cry when I say this next thing, it's going to be sad, but I went up there, and he was just like, oh my gosh, and he was just the happiest guy, and he put his arm around me. I went to work with him, and he's like, this is my buddy Mo, and he's 70-some years old. He died a month after I left. That was pretty cool. Not that he died. I mean, that was cool, too. He was probably ready. But it was really fun. Oh, and then you talked about the power of the sun. This is the midnight sun going up there in northern Sweden. So that really was the end of the beginning. I did this because I just wanted to go to Europe. I wanted to experience. I had no idea the doors that it was going to open for me. I was able to go back. As an intern, I went to BASF. It stands for the Badische Anilin-Soda-Fabrik. This is the place there in Friedrichshafen. Some of us recognize this. Did you know that? They are in Germany. They're in Leverkusen. And talk about culture shock. Her dad was a Nazi. And she was my coworker. And she had a picture of her dad in a Nazi uniform. My dad was in World War II. So also, it was like, this is weird. Isn't it weird? I said, this is weird. She was awesome, though. We really had it's amazing how life can change and the things that can happen. But that's me pretending to be a chemist. As a chemical engineer, it's almost an insult. It's kind of like calling you an electrician, right? I mean, oh, hit me in the gut. What was interesting, too, about Bayer is that the history of Bayer is really fun because they invented aspirin, right, back in the 1800s. That's how they got their start. But they're into all kinds of other things. And then World War II happened, and their history is blank. And then after the war, they just ignore it. They just said, yeah, we didn't do any bad things, but, it's whatever. And I was like, that's kind of interesting. But anyway, so I spent 2 summers working over there doing that. I was there in 1987 and 1988 living in Freiburg. I interned in 1989 and 1990. The wall from Berlin came down in 1989. This dude right here, he was working for the Prime Minister of Poland. Talk about the guys on the hand, he's number 3. Awesome. He said, Mo, if you want to make $1 million, bring paper over here. They don't have toilet paper. They don't have paper plates. They don't have, McDonald's is coming in. They're going to need that. So it's just a lot of cool information. So why did I bring up this about the wall? This is a Skoda. Has anyone ever heard of a Polish Skoda? The plant that they make these from, they never moved the barbed wire that pointed in to pointing out. Does that make sense what I'm saying? In World War II, you kept the concentration camp people in. Now it's like keep people out. They never switched them around. He's like, it's really weird. It was a crappy car. But anyway, that's the Skoda. This dude is Jerzy Kalaya. He's a professor at in Czechoslovakia. He spoke 6 languages fluently. Just awesome, the people that you meet traveling. So this is the trip that I went to see Jerzy Kalaya here in Czechoslovakia, and then driving through what was then East Germany all the way up into Berlin. Absolutely crazy. And these were the places that I worked in. This is Leverkusen, where Bayer was, and this is BASF. That is where I spent another summer working as an intern. So the title of my talk was talking about a duality. And it's about what Scott even hit on his second slide, is that the yin and yang. Is that I've always felt in my life that I should keep a balance. That I don't want to be the nerd engineer that's all I can do. I always thought that I wanted to balance it out with the poet, the linguist, the art, but I can't do anything artistic. But I found that venue or that avenue to express myself in language. Learning German, I do write poetry in German. I do read it a lot. But it's just the speaking it and the feel of knowing that. It kind of keeps that balance. That entire year, I didn't break out a calculator. I sat at the coffee shops and we discussed Goethe. Well, when the sun goes down, does the moon always come up? This is what they talk about in LS&A. Did you know this? When the moon comes up, does the sun go down? Really? We philosophize. So duality. There's always a choice, and we always know what the right choice is. We might not know it before we make it, but sometimes we learn it too late. But when we find out, we go, that could have been the right choice. The second part of my title is Artificial Intelligence Expert Systems. This was my master's work, but is actually related to chemical engineering, not what I'm talking about here. But when I was 19 and traveling in Europe, I had no freaking clue what the world was or where I fit into it. And it was all just this made-up idea of this rule base of who I was and what I thought was important. But that turned into kind of some good decisions in my life. Being able to say, I can understand when I'm faced with a choice. That instead of staying home and watching Thursday night football, you all came here. That's a good decision. You're getting better. To Scott's last point, right down here, I have a photographic memory. Do you? What did it say?
You are the best of you.
You are the master of you. And if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to be a slave to all. So you need to make sure that you put in the right rules. And navigating life is just try to look for the yummy in life. Don't accept the fact that just because it's, I'm an engineer, that I can't have fun. finding the things that make me passionate or that make me excited and that I like. So that is what I'd like to share with you. Any questions about my year in Germany or life in general?